Welcome to the Head Trash Show. My name is Alexia Leachman and I'm the founder of Head Trash, home to the new and unique Head Trash clearance method that removes unwanted negative thoughts, feelings and emotions quickly and effectively so that you can achieve clarity, confidence and contentment in your life. My goal with this podcast is to teach you how to create some headspace by helping you to unpick what's blocking you and sharing some tips and how-tos for clearing it. Tune in every week as I share simple strategies to help you to achieve confidence and clarity in your life and business. To find out how to clear your head trash quickly and effectively using our unique method, pop over to headtrash.com to get our free download and subscribe for our free head trash clearance updates. And now for the show. Hello and welcome back to the Head Trash Show. This is me, your host, Alexia Leachman. Now, on today's show, we're going to be talking about how you can increase your fees. And it's part of my Head Trash Unpicked series where I invite guests on the show to help me to unpick a certain kind of head trash, where we essentially go behind the scenes, as it were, to find out what the underlying issues behind something, because it's only when we can really understand what's going on beneath the surface that we can really start to get rid of it and clear it out the way. So in order to do that, I'm going to be inviting experts on the show, and they might be experts for one or two reasons. Either they help people to unpick this kind of stuff all the time, or they've experienced it so badly themselves that they really do know what they're talking about. But the thing is, they've overcome it and they can look back with and give insight as to what was going on for them. And today's expert is a mix of both. Today, I'm delighted to have on the show Ken D. Foster. And Ken is a best-selling author, international speaker, and a business intuitive. And he works and coaches people all around the world to help them to increase their awareness, change their viewpoints, grow their profits, and transform their lives so they can enjoy more success. But once upon a time, he also had to get over the fact that he needed to increase his fees too. So not only is he speaking from experience, but also because he helps people with this all the time. And in my mind, that makes him the perfect guest and somebody to help me to unpick this kind of head trash. So without further ado, here is the time when I spoke to Ken about how you can increase your fees. Hello and welcome, it's Alexia here on the Head Trash Show, and today I'm delighted to have with me Ken D. Foster, who is a coach supremo from the States who's worked with Tony Robbins and more. And today Ken is going to be joining me as we talk about and unpick the head trash that is, how can you charge what you're worth in your business? Hello Ken and welcome.
Well, hello, Alexa. I'm so happy to be here on your show. It's great to be here.
Thank you for joining me. So today, as I've said, we're going to be unpicking the head trash that is, how can you charge what you're worth? Because so many people out there, particularly in coaching or maybe in consultancy, are just not charging what they're worth. So I'm sure as a top business coach, you've come across that a hell of a lot with your clients.
Well, I come across it not just with coaches, but I come across it in all types of businesses here in the States, where people are they're struggling. Well, we'll get into what they're doing, but yeah, I find a lot of people really can benefit from listening to this today.
So if somebody who might think that they are, what are the telltale signs that actually they're not?
Well, I've been doing this for about 18 years now, Alexa, and I've gotten pretty good at seeing the symptoms and signs of people that are struggling and not charging what they're worth. The first symptom that I generally see is that they have lack of clients, or if they have, this is an interesting sign, even if they have the clients, usually they're dealing with clients that are very difficult. You would think that it's the fact that they can't pay their monthly bills, and sometimes that happens too. But a lot of times what I find is that they're being called to work with better clients. They're being called to bring more of their brilliance, their greatness into the world. And yet they have, for whatever reason, sometimes they're in industries, that dictate a certain fee. For instance, in the United States, we have therapists that charge anywhere from $60 to $120, $125 an hour, which really limits what they make in the world. And so what the therapists do here in the States is they take on more and more clients, and pretty soon one of their symptoms is they're overwhelmed, they're not making enough, and they're struggling, and they come to me. And from that point, then I give them I give them what we're going to talk about today.
Okay, so basically, you are not charging your worth if you are completely overwhelmed with way too many clients, maybe the wrong kind of clients, the clients that are really hard work, or just no clients at all and inability to pay the bills.
That's exactly what goes on. And it's very interesting because a lot of times people are stuck in paradigms where they believe that this is as much as they can charge. They believe that this is it in their industry. And sometimes people actually leave their industries because they believe that they can't make additional money. And usually it has nothing to do with that. In fact, what I tell people is that wherever you are, if you are passionate and you love what you're doing, there is a way for you to raise fees and to get yourself get your worth in whatever that is. Okay, whether you're selling flowers on the street or you're a coach. The United States, about 20% of the coaches, we're talking life coaches, business coaches, executive coaches in this country make over $20,000 a year. So 80% of them make under I think it's $24,000 a year, as stated from the International Coach Federation that did a complete survey about 3 or 4 years ago. So most people are not charging what they're worth in that industry. But I come across attorneys and doctors and lots of service providers that just don't get how to do this.
So before we go on to the juicy bit about how we get over it, let's just try and unpick it a bit and see, what is it that's creating that? You'd already talked about beliefs that are holding them back, about what they believe they can charge in the industry, but typically what kind of stuff is buried beneath the surface that's causing them to not feel like they can charge more than what they are?
It generally stems from a self-worth issue. And self-worth sometimes comes from people set up goals and they don't complete those goals, or they make appointments and they don't keep their appointments. So there's a part of them that is not keeping commitments with themselves. So there's a piece there that people, when they say they're going to do something, when they step into doing it, all of a sudden they feel better about themselves. So it is definitely a self-worth issue in some instances. In other instances, it's a lack of understanding of what is possible for them as an infinite soul, as an infinite being. What is possible for your life? Do you really need to play small, or is there somewhere that you need to step into and clear your head trash, which we love, Alexa, clear your head trash about playing bigger in life? For others, they believe that if they raise their fees, somehow they're not doing the right thing for other people. I had a fellow come to me not too long ago. I said, "Hey," this is a friend of mine. I said, "Hey, I've noticed you've never referred me clients. Why is that?" He says, "Oh, I believe you charge too much." Now that was the opposite. And I said, well, what's that based on? And he says, "Well, I wouldn't refer my friends because I think you're making too much money." And I said, "Well, that's interesting because a lot of people have that own belief. They flip it around. They think if they charge more, other people will judge them." And, as far as my friend goes, I helped turn him around and showed him why he should refer me. But it's kind of funny, isn't it? Okay. But some people, that stops them because they believe that other people will judge them in a negative sense, like my friend did, and won't refer clients to them. So that's another thing that stops people. So those are the predominant ones that seem to stop people. The look good stuff, the self-worth stuff, and the what was the last one I said? What?
Being judged by others.
Yeah, being judged, yeah.
And what about fears? Do you think there are any fears in there about maybe if I charge more, I'll get rejected? People won't, that kind of stuff. Do you come across that?
Well, the fears show up all the time. And, it's interesting because we're only born with two fears, Alexa. The fear of falling and the fear of loud noises. That's it. All the rest of the fears are made up. So, and fear, an acronym that we use in the United States, is false evidence appearing real. In other words, it's an illusion. But fear does stop people. And, realistic or unrealistic, if you're worried that, for instance, some people are worried that if they raise their fees, they'll actually have less clients. My experience is just the opposite. They're afraid that if they raise their fees, that people won't like them. People will talk about them, like we just said. They're afraid if they raise their fees, that they'll lose their business. I mean, there's a lot of fear around this, but all of it is pretty much made up. And I know that you can clear it with Head Trash almost, one session.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the juicy stuff then, how you help people to overcome it then. I can't wait to hear some of your tips and tricks and strategies for helping people to move past this.
Well, here's the number one trick I use. The first thing I do is I'll ask my clients to list out all of their skill sets, and then to skill sets, their gifts, their abilities. List those out, and then place a value on each one. For instance, let's say you're a marketing specialist, Alexa. And we say, okay, so you know how to help people with marketing. What's the value of a client that comes in and you drive 10 new clients a month into their business? How valuable is that for that client? Most people don't think about valuing themselves in that way. They value themselves by hour. So what I teach them to do is get rid of valuing yourself by time, okay, and start valuing yourself by the skills, abilities, and experience that you have. And it's not based on what you think it's worth. It's based on what clients will perceive it is worth for them. So that's the first tip. Okay.
Okay.
You like that?
I do like that, and I'm thinking there's a lot of my own head trash rising up from the swamp when I hear that. Is that, there's a market rate and people will pay the market, they'll chat about, see what other people pay for this kind of thing, and suddenly there's this marketing person that comes waltzing in going, hey, I'm going to charge you $2,000 for this. And they go, well, I can get this for £400 a day, So how do you deal with that kind of objection?
Well, I missed that. How do you deal with what?
The objections where people say, well, the market rate is £400 a day, and you're charging me $2,000 to do this. What's get real?
I love that question because it applied to me when with my first book, Ask and You Will Succeed.
Yeah.
I went out there. I did the research on the book. It was a 300-page book. It was my first one. I'd never written a book before. I decided I'm going to make it a hardback because I wanted to create that value. And then I thought to myself, what am I going to charge? And everybody told me, oh, you got to charge between $9.95 US or $15 or $16. And I went, man, I spent 5 years on this thing. I'm not going to give that book away. So I valued it at $29, $29.95. People thought I was crazy. But the good news of that is in the first couple of years, I sold about, $300,000 worth of those books. I felt good. Everybody else is using their book as kind of a business card. They're telling me, oh, use your book as a... I said, wait a second. All I have to do is value it right. And I valued it based on what people would get out of the book, not based on what the current market was. And here's the thing with therapists and attorneys and those types. A lot of times they get stuck in this is the way it is in their marketplace. And the truth is, it's really not. It's just how you're valuing yourself. And if you're valuing yourself as based on everybody else, it's kind of like walking down the street and seeing somebody a friend, and you value your complete self-worth based on how that friend looks. It's like it makes no sense. It's such a disconnect. No, we value ourselves on our skills, abilities, and gifts, and we value, and we place the value. It's very subjective. People think, that don't get this paradigm really need to clear their head trash around this, because I'm telling you, when you shift the paradigm, you shift the fees, and when you shift the fees, all of a sudden you come out of struggle into wealth and abundance.
Okay. So far you've said we've got to write down all our skills, our abilities, value them, and value it in the way that in the way that the client is perceiving that value. So that is a really, really great one. Even with my objection that I came up with, what else do you do to help people?
Well, once you value it, the next step is to do what most people won't do, and that is you actually you will raise your fees, and sometimes you have to add more value to what you're doing. When I started raising my coaching fees, I set a goal. I said, this is when I first started, I learned this. And actually, it's probably because I worked with Tony Robbins for a year before I came into doing my own coaching. It was brilliant in marketing. And one of the things that I got out of that, this is back in the early 90s, was that when I needed to set a goal, so I set the goal as to what I wanted to make that month. And then I worked backwards. I said, well, how many clients will I have to pay that fee? And I decided what that would be. And then I said, well, if I were to fill up my practice with, let's say, 8 clients at that time, which I did, I thought to myself, as soon as I get those 8 clients, I'm going to double my fees. So, which is what I did. And what happened with that is then the first client that came in after I doubled my fee said, oh, you're way too much money. I can't afford this. The second one came in and told me the same thing. The third one came in and said the same thing. I said, I'm sticking with this. I am going to earn what I know is I'm right. The fourth one came in and told me the same thing. The fifth one bought the program. The sixth one bought the program. The seventh one, the eighth one. All of a sudden, something happened in me. I shifted my confidence level. Now I valued myself higher. And what happened is my closing ratio, or opening new relationship ratio, increased tremendously because I had the confidence. And all of a sudden now, instead of prior to that, I was enrolling maybe 1 out of 7 or 8 people that came in, right? Now I'm all of a sudden going up to, I'm rolling about 80% of my clients. So not only did the fee structure shifted, the confidence level shifted, and I enrolled more clients as a direct result of that. So there are a lot of tips I give clients to shift this. Yeah. I also changed all my forms. I upped my practice. I help people up their practice. You know, what needs to shift in your practice? Where do you need to improve? What do you need to redo? Where do you need to step up? We look at all those things when we're trying to help people to build their next level.
So it sounds like that's a bit of a sort of sequence of events that ultimately leads to that boom effect of the confidence, and it all sort of snowballs into one until suddenly you've kind of stepped up your game.
You do step up your game, and it's all an inside job. You know, there's an old proverb, as within, so without. So as you shift and change within yourself, as you clear your head trash, as Alexa will help you do, as you change inside, the outer world rocks and it changes and it shifts. I have helped more clients and more coaching and business owners of all lives increase their fees just by making subtle shifts. You know, it reminds me, I'm a snow skier, and I've been skiing for about 30 years at the time, and I always struggled going down the mountains on these moguls, these big bumps on the mountains, right?
Yeah.
I had a fella that was a ski instructor. He came to me. He said, "Ken, let me teach you the skill set on how to do this." It must have taken him 15 minutes to show me. My skiing improved tremendously. I mean, I became at least twice the skier that I was before just by making that subtle shift. And I can assure people that are listening to your show, Alexa, you know, with the right strategies, with the clearing the head trash and the right strategies, they too, within a very short period of time, can shift. And all of a sudden, now income isn't a struggle. You're making money. You're enjoying your life more. You have more self-confidence. You have more assurance, and you're able to tap into more of your resourcefulness as a direct result of just knowing the skill sets you need to know.
Yeah. Well, that sounds fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing that with me today, Ken. I'm sure there are people who've been scribbling down exactly what you've shared today, because you make it sound so simple, but you're right, it's an inside job, and that bit isn't always easy to do. And I think that's where coaches are really useful, because they can help you to really push you along that journey, because it's not always easy for people to move along a path like that, where they've got to really hit against those personal walls that they trap themselves behind, right?
Well, let me share this with you, Alexa. I can give people I can tell you how to value yourself. I can say, hey, write down this, like we did earlier, value yourself differently, learn to trade, value for money, not time for money. I can give them the outer things, but you know what? It's the inside job. It's the inside shift that people pay. They pay me to help them. They pay you to help them, because that's where the real game is. It's an inner game. And when we learn to shift those inner pieces, and we have somebody, it's so funny. We're all meant to work together. I can't see my blind spots. I have coaches in my life that coach me.
Yeah.
I was with my coach yesterday. You have blind spots. You hire people like me to help you. We all need each other. And if you're going through life and you're just stuck in the money game, if you're having a hard time with even thinking about how you can get out of the day-to-day struggle, or the month-to-month, running more money, or more month than money syndrome, then people like me and you, Alexa, really provide that service where people can clear their head trash. I can help them with the inner game and the strategies, and their life changes. And that's what I love to do, and that's what I'm passionate about in my life. And I know you are too.
Well, thank you so much for joining me today, Ken. And if people want to try and find you online, how do they do that?
Well, the easiest way is to go to my website, premiercoaching.com. It's www.premier, Premier, coaching, COACHING.com, premiercoaching.com. And there's a free gift there waiting for anybody that comes and subscribes to my newsletter and my blog. There's a really great gift for you there.
Thank you so much for that, and thank you for joining me today, Ken.
Thanks so much for having me, Alexa. Much success.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Well, I hope you found that useful, listening to what Ken had to say about what lies behind the reason why probably we're not charging what we could be charging, but also how to get over it and start moving forwards. I'm going to be doing a lot more of these Head Trash Unpicked series. So if there's anything in particular that you'd like me to unpick with somebody, then please do let me know anything that you're wrestling with that we can maybe unpick on the show. And I'd love to hear from you. You can do that via Twitter, and find me on Twitter at Alexia L, or just email me through the Head Trash website at hello@headtrash.co.uk. So until next time, bye for now. You've just been listening to Alexia Leachman here on the Head Trash Show. If you enjoyed the show, I'd really appreciate you leaving a review here on iTunes. And don't forget to pop over to headtrash.com to get your copy of our free 5 Steps to Clearing Head Trash guide. So now stay tuned for upcoming episodes and more tips and how-tos for clearing your head trash and reclaiming your headspace. Until next time, bye for now.